let's take a look at a few pneumatic devices. So the first thing we want to do is take a look at our cylinders, okay? So if I take a look at this cylinder right here, this first one right here is a spring return cylinder, okay? You'll see that it only has one port on the top. This happens to have a flow control on it, by the way, so that I could adjust the flow here. But this one is always extended, and it's kind of hard to push, but if I let go and I let go like that, a spring returns it, okay? And this is, you can have spring extend, which this is, or you could have spring retract, that if for some reason I pulled it out, the spring would take it back. So that's a single acting spring return cylinder right there. I got another one right here. This is a double acting cylinder. It extends and retracts, okay? And so you have pressure on this end. If I put pressure on this end, the rod in here, it would cause it to come back in. And if I put pressure on this end, it would cause it to come back out. The benefit of this is that the amount of pressure here on either end dictates how much force is used to extend and how much force is used to retract. That's different than the spring here. The amount of extend is dependent on the spring right there. And if that's not enough, well, then that's a problem. If you need more extend or retract here, you can just dial up the air pressure to get even more, okay? So there's our couple of cylinders. Let's take a look at a valve real quick. So here's a valve, and this is an individual valve. It's got a valve spool in here, and it's got its own coil right here. So what you want to do is you could take a look at this coil right here, and you could see that it is DC. So this is a DC coil. Looks like it's about, it says 10 to 13 volts, so it's a 12 volt DC coil, which is unique. You'll see some out there. Most DC would be 24 volts, but this is my coil right here, and it moves the valve spool back and forth in here, okay? And so we look at this, it's going to have a diagram of what it is, okay? So I know it's going to be, it looks like I've got two positions. I've got two squares there, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ports. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is a 5-2 valve. It's got 5 ports, 2 positions, okay? And it looks like it's piloted and solenoid. So it's air piloted and solenoid. Now, you might not be able to see this. Well, guess what? These are super small when you get these valves to try and look at them and try and figure out what it is. You might have to put on your reading glasses or take a picture of it on your phone or something. It's what I do, okay? So that's a single valve. Now, if you go and look at this, this is a valve bank, okay? So this is a series of valves. All these are different ones. You can order a valve bank and build it up with 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, how many ever you need. And what you do is you just run one air line to it, and then all these have air. It's like a common, and then you can switch these off and on depending on what you want. So if you look here, on this item right here on the end, what I'm seeing here is there's one electrical connection here on the end, okay? It says DC 24 volts. So this is a single coil. This is a single coil right here, and it looks like it's air pilot on the return. If I look here, I see 2 positions, and I see 5 ports. So this is a 5-port, 2-position valve, single coil, air piloted. Okay, so that's how that is. The air is the return on there. Versus this one right here, I see 2 coils right there. Okay, and I see 2 ways, or 2 positions, first position, second position, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ports. So that's a 5-2 valve, dual coil, and it's solenoid with air pilot is what causes that to go back and forth, okay? So once again, those are small, and they're hard to see, and this is my valve bank here for a valve or a cylinder situation where you could have multiple items all connected here and driven by one unit, okay? It's a valve bank. Let's take a look at our trainer. So this is what the lab is right here. And what we have here is we've got a couple of things. We have two different valves, okay? This valve right here only has one coil running to it, okay? So this is a spring return valve, okay? This one right here has two coils running to it. So this is going to be one coil will actuate it one way, the other coil will actuate it the other way. And then those leads are run to my connection points here, 1, 2, and 3. And if I look at the side right here, here's the first coil, and then this one has coils 2 and coil 3 on it. So if I made those connections here, I would turn on those coils, causing that valve spool to go back and forth and direct the air. We got a cylinder right here, and it is got 2 ports, so it's double acting. You're either going to push the air out and use air to return it. Air will push it out, and air will retract it. Okay, extend, retract. It also has flow controls on it right here, so I could dial these down. And remember, it's when in doubt, meter out. So if I wanted to control the amount of, let's say, how fast this is extending, well, you do not adjust the amount of air coming to it. You adjust how much air is being exhausted here when this extends. So when in doubt, meter out. Got a couple of limit switches on here. I could certainly take my meter right here and set it to continuity. And let's see if I push this here, and you see when this comes out, it would make the limit switch, and that's beeping, okay? And then that would, we run our signals through there, and that would cause it to retract to the next one, okay? And so once again, if you wanted to see what these were, on the valve down here, there's a really little sticker, and it's going to be super hard to see on there. There it is. You can see down here that this is 2 position, and it looks like it's 4 ports. So if I come and look, oh, it's 5 ports. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5-2 valve, single coil. This is a 5-2 valve, dual coil. And then so you would take your air lines, and if for some reason for the first lab you could make your connections there, and the next lab you could make your connections here. Sometimes what happens is you accidentally switch connections like this, and then what happens as soon as you give it power, it takes off and extends. Well, that's the problem. What you probably have to do is you probably made your connections wrong, and you have to swap them like that. Okay. So this is the trainer that we'll be using for the lab, and hopefully after watching the video you understand what some of that nomenclature is.